Hello, everybody. So this is it. Tariffs on Denmark, tariffs on 8 European countries announced as of an hour and a half ago. Is this a black swan? Did I tell you? What's going on? What's going on? Well, first of all, I had a feeling this would happen. In fact, I went back to the channel. In February 2025, I made this video where I explain, I'm not too fond of Novo. I'm not too fond of Genmab, only for the reason that they are located in Denmark. And of course, today, what do we hear? Special tariffs, 10%, then 25% in June on Denmark and on 8 other countries who sent, half a dozen troops to Greenland. They are also included in the same tariff as Denmark. So this happened. I was too early, but this happened. And before you say in the comment section, I know Novo manufactures a lot of stuff in the USA. I know Genmab is mostly licensing, but do we think the market makes a difference? And my view is no. The market makes no difference. And so a lot of the companies in these 8 countries in Europe, if they're trading in the US market, they might sell off because the market is just not that nuanced. The market doesn't make the nuance like that. And so let's go over what's going on. So interesting, of course, but I was expecting this because we knew this was always discussed by Trump. So I was fully expecting this. It happened later than I thought, but he didn't give up on this. And so he wants to acquire Greenland. Why? Because if you look at the globe, if you look at the map of the globe from right above Greenland, you can see you have Russia right here, you have the USA and Canada right here, and essentially Greenland is kind of like a shield for the entire USA, roughly. Like essentially anything you would launch from Russia would essentially go over Greenland, especially in the spots where most of the people in the US live, right? Most of the people in the US live in the East and the Midwest. That's what, 250 million people here that would be protected if they deployed weapons here. And so, of course, Trump is saying, we got to acquire Greenland for that reason. That's not Trump's idea, by the way. This is an old idea. This idea has been around for a very, very long time. The U.S. has a history of growing its territory by acquisitions, right? They acquired Louisiana, they acquired Virgin Island, they acquired some territory from Spain, they acquired, of course, Alaska. They have a long history of paying for land, and so that's going to have implications for money printing. I'll get to that in a second. But anyways, for now, a little bit of a black swan, if you ask me. I did not expect this right now. I thought it would happen months ago, maybe a year ago. I thought it would have happened. But anyways, 10% extra tariff on February 1st, 25% on June 1st. And so the countries that sent troops to Greenland to help out Denmark, that might have been a very big economic mistake. You send free soldiers and you could get hundreds of billions of dollars of loss in economic loss in tariffs. And so perhaps better strategic calculation from the countries in Europe who did not send troops over there. So is this a black swan? For now, it doesn't. We don't know what's going to happen on Tuesday, but in order to know, we have to wait until Tuesday because unfortunately the markets are closed on Monday. To me, I'd be fine with markets being open on the weekends and holiday, but no, it's closed. So we'll have to wait for Tuesday to know what's going on. But I think there's reasons to be hopeful. One of the reasons to be hopeful, of course, is that it only impacts. Granted, it's the UK and it's the bigger countries in the EU, so that's bad. There's no sugarcoating it, but that's not the entire EU, right? For example, there's no Spain, there's no Italy included in that, so that's a little better. It's not the whole EU, and then of course it's especially not China. The market is spooked by tariffs, especially when they concern China. Of course, most of the trade with physical goods flows between China and the US. So that could be a little bit less of a black swan because it's 8 countries, granted the bigger ones, but it's not China. And then a third indication, so we have 3 days for the market to handle the news. So that's point number one, which is why it may be a lesser black swan. It's not the entire European Union. It's just the bigger countries in the EU and the UK, which is not in the EU. And the third positive, which is the only market that is open right now, which is Bitcoin, is the only market that is open. Bitcoin is actually up. Of course, it dropped on the news about an hour and a half ago, and then it just bounced right back up. So Bitcoin and perhaps some of the market may be understanding that technically this is mostly a negotiation tactic. And so, how many times he put tariff and then he got them out, right? He removed them. Every time, most time, or every time, essentially every time. So there is potentially a solution to this issue. And if you ask me, I see Bitcoin rebounding. To me, this is very bullish for Bitcoin. To me, most roads lead to Bitcoin. This is very bullish for Bitcoin. Or should I say this is very bullish for hard assets, gold, Bitcoin, companies that buy back their stocks, companies with unique tech. That's very bullish for them. Why? Because the consequence of this and the US, being interested in Greenland is the money printer. That's the consequence. The US is addicted to spending. No matter who is in power, they spend on different things, but they're going to spend. That's the certainty. And so in the long run, the dollar is going to zero, because in the long run, the US just keeps diluting the dollar by spending money that they don't have. And of course, if you tally the cost of this, so during Trump's term, the Golden Dome, because the main reason for buying Greenland, it's mostly unusable land. The most reason for buying Greenland is the Golden Dome. So that's 175 billion. Over 2 decades, it could be 831 billion. And then I've been reading a lot of stuff saying that on Tuesday, the U.S. may make a formal offer to buy Greenland for $700 billion dollars, which of course the U.S. doesn't have, so it would be entirely printed, right? It would be printed. So you're looking at 831 billion. For the Golden Dome. You're looking at 700 billion for buying Greenland. And then I've also seen things floating that Greenland citizens, each of them could get like $1 million or something like that. I don't know how true that is, but if they did, that'd be an over 50 billion that would have to be spent. Maybe more than that. Maybe more than 50 billion. Very small country, very few number of citizens over there. But anyways. What is this bullish on? This is bullish on the money mass. This is bullish on the money printer. We've had 4 years of pain. We barely made a dent in the money that was printed during COVID. 4 years of pain, barely made a dent, and we're back at heavy printing. Imagine all of the printing that's going to happen with real estate and getting real estate back up. Imagine all of the printing that is going to happen if Denmark accepts and in the US has to shell out, 700 billion. That would be just insane. So this is bullish for money printing, and this is bullish for hard assets and Bitcoin. So for the black swan on we'll see on Tuesday. It's so. I don't really know yet. I think it's not necessarily going to be as bad as Liberation Day, but it's definitely not going to be that good either, right? It's not a positive. We're back at this. That's going to be the theme of now the next 3 years. That's going to be the theme of the next 3 years, if you ask me. So anyways, this was not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is not country purchase advice. This is only entertainment. I hope you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.